Truly African. Truly African. Truly African.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasacco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
Hello, information.
Madam,
Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, added.
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I did call. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasacco fast floor.
Trawanko, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg going to catch a guy.
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No more, the estimate is free. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
A lovely good afternoon to you. This is Pan-African Television News Live from our studios here, 48 Swanika Street at Belmont, Accra, Ghana. My name Ivy Abnadede Nakite, coming to you live from our studios here, 48 Swanika Street. This is Pan-African Television News. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. We stream live on Facebook at Pan-African Television, coming up in the next 1 hour. Fuel prices likely to go up following COPEC's latest prediction. Details of this will follow shortly. Also coming up, Health Minister hot over Sputnik vaccine as Minority Caucus calls for his resignation. Do stay for the details of these stories and many more. Thanks for choosing to stay with us. You're watching Pan-African Television News. My name is Ivy Abnadede Nakite. The news in detail. Former President John Dramani Mahama says he is happy the minorities tussle over the approval of a controversial e-levy in Parliament has woken the consciences of the clergy. Now, speaking after a delegation from the leadership of the various church groups and associations paid a courtesy call on him, he also described the minorities' rejection of the e-levy as a fight for democracy.
In December 2021, a free-for-all fight broke out in Parliament during the debate and voting on Government Electronic Transaction Levy, e-levy. This follows an action by the First Deputy Speaker, which the National Democratic Congress (NDC) MPs described as unconstitutional and contrary to the standing orders of the House. The minority resisted Joseph Osei Owusu's attempt to vote whilst presiding over the parliamentary proceedings. In view of this, former President John Dramani Mahama, at a meeting with a delegation from the leadership of the various church groups and associations in his office, said the resistance of the minority group, which led to the brawl, was a fight for democracy. He told the Christian leaders that Ghanaians have made it clear that they do not want the e-levy. Hence, the minority group's pushback is a reflection of what the people want. Former President John Dramani Mahama further indicated the importance of the Fourth Republic and urged everyone to get involved in its protection. He questioned government on why it did not dialogue with the minority in Parliament before the introduction of the e-levy. Mr. Mahama likened the recent attempt by government to dialogue with minority after several rejections to traders negotiating at Makola. To him, the e-levy is a symptom of economic mismanagement by the Akufo-Addo-led government over the past 4 years.
To get a detail of what our concerns are, you will understand the viewpoint from which we are coming. But I do think that this meeting is timely, and it's good to hear from all sides. And I'm sure that by the time you have heard what we have to say, you realize that the problem is much deeper than you think. And that's why I brought some of the MPs here. That fight was a fight for democracy. There's no way a speaker can sit in the chair, relinquish the chair, let somebody else come and sit in it, and take a vote in something that he has presided over. The Constitution is clear. You take a voice vote, ayes or nays. If somebody challenges it, it means that we don't agree with your choice. So you, the speaker, must sit in the chair and do a division. And then you say, I've done the division, the accounting, I'm now going to get out of the chair and let the second deputy speaker who has voted come and sit in so that I can also go and vote. Our Constitution doesn't allow that. And it was felt that our MPs should sit timidly and let them pass this unconstitutionality. It won't happen. And so, yes, I'm happy that that rowdy scene has woken your consciences that you must intervene, because there's a lot that is happening in this country that if we don't intervene, it would upset our democracy.
Former President John Dramani Mahama further indicated the importance of the Fourth Republic and urged everyone to get involved in its protection. He questioned government on why it did not dialogue with the minority in Parliament before the introduction of the e-levy. Mr. Mahama likened the recent attempt by the government to dialogue with minority after several rejections to traders negotiating at Makola. To him, the e-levy is a symptom of economic mismanagement by the Akufo-Addo-led government over the past 4 years.
The Fourth Republic has been the most enduring, and we must protect it. And all of us must stand up and protect it. Dialogue is not just the only issue. Dialogue comes from the ruling party. We are in opposition. We have nothing. If the ruling party says come and dialogue, of course we'll come and we'll sit and dialogue. If you are bringing something like e-levy, why was there no dialogue before you introduce it in Parliament? It's only after you introduce it and there's a pushback, then you say come and let's dialogue. But you go and set your 1.75% and then you bring it and say, because there's a pushback, the country is pushing back, the minority is pushing back, then you say, okay, let's dialogue. Okay, I'll give you 1.5. It's like we are negotiating in Makola. E-levy is not the problem. E-levy is a symptom of what has gone on for the last 4 years. Government feels that it can ride roughshod over everybody, take its own decisions, bring anything into Parliament, do whatever it likes, pass any, decisions that it wants without dialoguing. After all, we're 169. And so the current 137 is a withdrawal symptom. And so government has to climb down from its high horse and realize that the people of Ghana have been tired of that tyrannical, dictatorial majority rule that they have carried out. Without consensus building, without dialogue, even if you're 169, it still helps to get consensus.
The delegation, led by presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, the Most Reverend Paul K. Boafo, included representatives from the Christian Council of Ghana, the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, and the Catholic Bishop Conference. Most Reverend Paul Boafo told the former president, who was in the company of the national chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, former education minister, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajeman, MP for Ejumako Enyan Isiem, Dr. Ato Forsen, and MP for Banda Ahmed Ibrahim, that they were on a peace mission.
This morning we are here on a peace mission. Very peaceful. We have come, as I have introduced ourselves, as heads of churches of the various associations and groupings in Ghana. Our history has it that the church has played a very significant role in our development and in the welfare of our people. So as major stakeholders, when things become of concern, we are all to take it up and see how best we can find answers and resolutions to it, so that at the end of the day, what we preach and what governance is all about can be achieved, all to the glory of God. Getting to the last quarter of last year, we all experienced what our country has never experienced before, maybe from the very beginning, from the very first month, when we had our parliament as it is now. As you rightly mentioned, whether we have a minority or have a majority, but the hung parliament. When it came to the hilt, when they were about closing with the introduction of the budget and the year levy and what went on the last but one day of Parliament, where there were exchanges resulting in some fights and all that. And the churches or the Christian bodies became alarmed and said, we will not sit, but we want to take a very bold step in seeing how best together we can find solution to it. So we have made various approaches. We have met the Minister of Finance, we have met the majority in Parliament, the head, we've met some members of the minority. We also met the Minister of Finance again for discussions.
Now, a member of parliament for Salaga South constituency, Zuwera Mohammed Ibrahima, has condemned the recent attacks on press freedom and the independence of the Ghanaian media. This comes on the back of the recent arrest and trial of Kwabena Bobi-Ansah and some other critics of governments. She made this comment on Pan-African Television's Alhaji and Alhaji.
But politics should not tear this country apart. It's also unfortunate, Senna, that at this time in our history, the president that we have, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in our view, at the time we embarked on this democratic journey, was a hero of democracy. That is how we all perceived him. I mean, I won't go into his then credentials of a human rights activist and all of those things. But I think he did justice to himself when his party formed government from the year 2000, when he became Attorney General of this country in 2001, and worked, I know, closely with a lot of media communication practitioners to ensure that at least the criminal libel law was repealed from our statute books. The whole of Ghana celebrated and hailed him for that feat. Today, we are beginning to question whether indeed the motive for championing that was noble. And why do I say that? We had a government then of his party that he was not in charge of. He was a minister of state. He used his role, his position as Attorney General to ensure, and indeed he had the support of the then president, President J. Kufuor, to ensure that this law in our statute books was abolished. 12 years, 14 years, 16 years down the line, the same person becomes president of Ghana. And what will be your expectation? That this same individual will work to broaden the frontiers of press freedom, because that is what we've known him for. Suddenly we see a new person in him, and we begin to wonder whether everything that happened before was for real or it was just for political opportunism.
Away from that, lawyer and national youth organizer of a ruling New Patriotic Party, Henry Nanabuache, says the party has always cautioned its communicators to be civil. Speaking after proceedings in court over publication of false news purported to have been made by the Bono regional chairman of a New Patriotic Party, Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronya DC, the party's national youth organizer disclosed that they have advised all party communicators to avoid statements that would incite or cause public mayhem.
I've always told our supporters to remain calm. We have always told us, we use a general caution that even the national chairman, general secretary, we have always been saying that, look, all our communication should be devoid of any comment that would incite the public or that will cause any public mayhem. So yes, this is something that we said. As I said, I cannot go into the details of this particular matter. That is why I made a general statement. The matter is still pending before court, and I cannot make any statement. As I said, the accused person has also pleaded not guilty. So I may not be able to mention specific or make specific comments on this particular matter. But yes, indeed, we have had general conversation concerning how our party persons speak publicly.
Minority caucus in Parliament is calling for the dismissal of the Health Minister Kweku Agyemang Menu over taking an international transaction without prior approval from Parliament. In a memo to the Speaker of Parliament signed by the Minority Chief Whip Mubarak Muntaka, indicates that the minister's action is contrary to Article 191 of the 1992 Constitution, a move to warrant his dismissal. The minority has therefore filed a motion of censure against the health minister and further insists that findings of the committee shows that the health minister is not fit to hold public office. Honorable Minta Kando is the ranking member of Health Committee in Parliament.
The procurement of Sputnik 5. Parliament constituted a bipartisan committee, and we finished our work. We brought the report to the plenary, debated, and today the question has been put. It means that the report of the committee has been adopted by the House. All this while, we have been of the strong conviction that the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, would have done the needful. From all indications, it looks as though the president hasn't heard anything and he hasn't seen anything. And therefore, we as members of parliament, especially on the minority side, by Article 82, will come by a motion. In fact, we filed a motion and we've gotten the required signatories to have to pass a vote of censure so that probably the minister will be asked to stay away from the ministry because we find him incompetent. I mean, serious indictments were leveled against him per the report, and some of which includes the fact that the transaction between the state and Ahmed Al Maktoum was of international nature, and he ought to have come to Parliament for prior approval. It is clearly captured in the report. Again, the procurement of Sputnik 5, he was also supposed to have the prior approval of the board of the Public Procurement Act. He didn't do so, contrary to sections 40 and 41. He didn't do so. As you also remember, those of you who followed the committee, the ad hoc committee, it was also established that the ex-factory price of the vaccine was less than $10, and the state had to buy it at $19 per dose. That was dishonesty. Again, he appeared before the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health before entering into such an agreement. At the said meeting, he made it clear to the committee that the budget for the Sputnik 5 was $10 per dose. And so, again, under oath, he told the committee that no payment whatsoever was made. After the investigation, it was found out that about $2.850 million, which is presently around 8 to 9 million Ghana cedis, has been paid to Ahmed Al Maktoum. Clearly, he lied under oath, which for me is perjury. And therefore, the reason why we have filed a motion to pass a vote of censure so that the minister will have nothing to do with the Ministry of Health. I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable, some say that you don't have the required number.
You know, this is Parliament. And if indeed we are working in the interest of the country, we are 275. I think that even those on the other side, which is the majority people, should support us. They should be able to support us in the interest of our democracy. Because from all intents and purposes, looking at the behavior and the composure of the president, especially when he was joking with such a serious matter, when he went into the minister's region, he's not going to fire the man. And therefore, we are an independent arm of government, and we must act as such, irrespective of where you find yourself in the House.
The report of your committee recommended you very much for your question. In fact, I said thank you very much for your question. The answer to the question is very simple. We know that ministers are nominated, they are vetted by a parliamentary committee and approved by Parliament before appointment. In the same vein, the Constitution in Article 82 gives a ground to a minister that has been vetted, approved by Parliament, and consequentially appointed to be removed by Parliament. And the procedure for the removal of such minister is clearly spelled out in Article 82. First, there must be a motion, and the motion must state clearly the grounds or the basis of the vote of censure. And then the Constitution states clearly that you need 1/3 of the members signing that particular motion. And in this case, we've gone beyond the 1/3 to have 137 members signing the motion. Now, by constitutional imperative, if the grounds are cogent and are debated, then you need 2/3 of all members of Parliament present and voting to be able to carry out the motion. So nobody in his right senses can say that the committee's report having been adopted means that other consequential steps cannot be taken. That one, the person is having, with all due respect, a blurred view of the law, because the law is spelled out. Now, if the committee's report is not adopted, what then will be the basis of bringing the motion for censure? Because the grounds, the breach of the Constitution, the breach of the procurement, the perjury, and all those things, that constitute the ground for the motion under Article 82 are spelled out in the committee's report
that has been adopted by Parliament, and it is now a report of Parliament. So based on that particular report, 1/3 of members can file an application that a vote of censorship be passed on the minister, and that is what exactly is happening.
The allegation of bad faith?
Yes. We refute the allegation of bad faith.
So
there is nothing like bad faith here. It is procedural that after the committee's work, we must debate it and say the report must be adopted by the House. That is where we are now. Today, the question has been put. So the next steps should follow based on the content of the report. So there's nothing like bad faith. Absolutely nothing. I don't know where he's getting this from.
So on our local front, former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Inusaf Hussaini has expressed his disapproval over Medina legislator Francis Xavier Sosu's comment on judges. The human rights lawyer has been trading salvos with the judges, warning the latter to refrain from political partisanship. Now, commenting on the issue, the visibly dispirited former Tamale Central Member of Parliament described Sosu's remarks as one that caught him by surprise.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasacco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
As a lawyer, a former member of parliament, an NDC member, and a respected member of the profession, it's really very difficult. Yesterday I had opportunity to meet with Xavier Sosu in a forum where we were both invited to be participants of that forum. We had discussions. It was not conclusive, but we agreed to meet again to continue with the discussions. In fact, the discussions were directed towards the statement that he has issued. I was surprised that the statement has already come out, because in the discussions I was to be privileged with an opportunity to have reviewed the statement. Now I've been asked to comment on the statement, and that's the difficulty. And the hard place, the devil and the deep blue sea. You see, first of all, let me make a categorical statement. Nobody can take the right to freedom of speech and expression from anybody. But when a person chooses to exercise the rights to free speech and expression, that person must be prepared for the consequences. So you can say whatever you want, but you must be prepared. You can't say, you can't reprobate, approbate, and reprobate. You must take all together. I'm still struggling to understand the reasons why Xavier Soso made the statement when the whole forum that gave him an opportunity to speak was to talk about the e-levy.
The Students' Representative Council of the Ghana School of Law has launched the 2022 edition of the Bafwa Kotomu Court Competition and Symposium under the theme Leadership, Gender, Disability and Corporate Governance, the Way Forward After Legal Education. Now, delivering the keynote address at the launch, Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Akoto, stated that the issue of discrimination against women and girls, as well as the physically challenged, can only be addressed through strong advocacy and public policy.
Of the average Ghanaian. In a similar vein, the disadvantage suffered by people living with disability, women and children in society have to be addressed through strong advocacy and public policy. We still have discrimination of women at the workplace and at home. Women farmers are denied land rights, and in many cases, their cultivation is limited to food crops rather than the more profitable cash crops, which are the reserve for men. Oftentimes, farm machinery supplied to farmers are for the benefit of their male counterparts. Child labor has become an issue in recent years, especially on cocoa farms and along the river Volta. The opening up of education to the girl child is leading to an increase in rising role of women in society at the top echelon. These favorable trends would not have been achieved without strong advocacy and changes in the law. Currently, in this country, those living with disabilities still struggle to make their voices heard. In spite of the introduction of laws to achieve this objective, the impact on the lives of our disabled countrymen and women has not been substantial. Strong advocacy is therefore needed to address these concerns, to provide an enabling environment for their valuable contribution to Ghana.
To 4.7. Yes, business.
The Socialist Movement of Ghana, SMG, invites all progressive and revolutionary forces to the observance of Ghana's Day of Shame on Thursday, February 24th, 2022. 56 years has passed since the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA of the USA, and its local collaborators launched a futile attack on the African Revolution. This day of shame will be marked with a public forum on the theme 56 years after the overthrow of Nkrumah, the state of the Ghanaian economy. The event will be chaired by Comrade Tretri Opoku, convener of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The speakers will be Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman, first female vice-chancellor of a public university in Ghana and vice presidential candidate of the NDC in the 2020 elections, and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The event starts at 5 p.m. prompt at the new headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, next door to the Noga Hill Hotel on the George Walker Bush Highway. Come and join the struggle to ensure that imperialism never succeeds.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. Now, the Ghana cedi has depreciated by 4.7 to the US dollar, worth only 46 days into the year, as the pressure mounts on the local currency. This ranks Ghana the second worst performing currency in Africa among 15 top performing currencies.
Ghana cedi is presently trading at 6 cedi 60 pesos to the US dollar on the forex market. Analysts have attributed the cedi's problem to upside risk to the economy, including high debt and interest payment, inadequate revenue, and rising expenditure. This has led to selling pressures by investors in Ghana's international bonds and the lack of access to the international capital markets. To this end, credit rating agencies Moody's and Fitch reviewed Ghana's credit worthiness downwards. The revised credit rating has, however, complicated Ghana's capacity to borrow from the international bond market, whilst paying higher interest or premium on existing bonds to investors. The conditions that triggered the persistent depreciation of the cedi during the latter part of the last year is expected to persist till the end of the first half of 2022. Data Bank research has projected. The local currency is said remains vulnerable to foreign portfolio outflows amidst the elevated import demand. The heightened uncertainty around Ghana's fiscal outlook worsened the local currency's woes in the latter part of 2021.
Up next is international news. The Progressive International, in collaboration with several like-minded organizations, will organize the second Belmont Tribunal in New York on February 25. Now, it announced the decision in a press release on February 14.
The tribunal seeks to hold the U.S. government accountable for its war crimes in the 2 decades of the so-called war on terror, and also push for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's release. The first Belmont Tribunal was organized in London during Assange's extradition hearings in October last year. It's named after the infamous prison in London where Assange has been kept for almost 3 years. The upcoming Belmont Tribunal in New York coincides with the date of the opening of a Guantanamo Bay detention facility by the U.S. in occupied part of Cuba 20 years ago. Hundreds of people were imprisoned and systematically tortured in the name of fighting terrorism. Most of them have never been charged with any crime. Though there's no formal charge against Assange in the UK, he's being kept in prison as the US government has filed for his extradition. If extradited to the US, Assange will be tried for 17 charges under the infamous Espionage Act, and if found guilty, he could be in prison for life. The co-hosts of the event are Dime 25, Courage Foundation, the People's Forum, DSA International Committee, The Intercept, International People's Assembly, and People's Dispatch. According to the press release issued by the PI, the event would be chaired by philosopher Sreko Howard and civil rights attorney Margaret Kansler, with a long list of witnesses from various walks of life, including former diplomats, journalists, and whistleblowers like Alice Walker, Angela Richter, Naomi Chomsky, Roger Waters, and Vijay Prashad, among others. The Belmont Tribunal underlines how WikiLeaks and its founder Julian Assange, with crucial help provided by Chelsea Manning, played an important role in exposing the details of the inhuman conditions in which detainees were kept at Guantanamo and tortured. These details published by WikiLeaks helped some ex-prisoners achieve some form of redressal. As Chomsky noted, the crimes committed by successive U.S. governments against the people of Cuba and during the so-called War on Terror in the last 20 years cannot be forgiven. And events such as the Belmont Tribunal can pave the way for accountability because power begins to evaporate when exposed to sunlight.
Credit goes to international partners, the People's Dispatch, for our international stories. Up next is sports. Coach Ibrahim Tanko has been appointed new sporting director for Accra Lions Football Club. The 44-year-old, who holds a UEFA License A coaching certificate, has agreed on a contract and will start work immediately in the new role created to reflect the future ambitions of the club.
The role will see him shape the activities of the senior team while giving a laser-guided focus to the methods of the club's academy. The former assistant coach of the Ghana national team, the Black Stars, will also lead the restructuring of the process of recruitment at the club. Tanko is a seasoned trainer, having coached at the highest levels in world football, including working with professional clubs in Germany and Japan. He was the assistant coach of German sides Freiburg and FC Cologne before traveling to Japan to work with Urawa Red Diamonds. The former striker worked with the Cameroonian senior national team as their assistant coach before leaving to occupy a similar position with the Black Stars in 2017. 2 years later, he was named the head coach of the Black Meteors, Ghana's under-23 side, and led them to the under-23 Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt. Tanko will be working with English trainer James Nicholas Francis, who was brought in as the new head coach of the team following the departure of German gaffer Rainer Kraft.
Meanwhile, six-time UEFA Champions League winners Bayern Munich needed a late Kingsley Coman equalizer to avoid a shock last 16 first leg defeat at an impressive Red Bull Salzburg.
Before Frenchman Coman drew his side level late on.
That's all for sports. Entertainment is next.
The Socialist Movement of Ghana, SMG, invites all progressive and revolutionary forces to the observance of Ghana's Day of Shame on Thursday, February 24th, 2022. 56 years has passed since the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA of the USA, and its local collaborators launched a futile attack on the African Revolution. This Day of Shame will be marked with a public forum on the theme 56 years after the overthrow of Nkrumah, the state of the Ghanaian economy. The event will be chaired by Comrade Tretri Opoku, convener of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The speakers will be Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman, first female vice-chancellor of a public university in Ghana and vice presidential candidate of the NDC in the 2020 elections, and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The event starts at 5 p.m. prompt at the new headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, next door to the Noga Hill Hotel on the George Walker Bush Highway. Come and join the struggle to ensure that imperialism never succeeds.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasacco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
Entertainment. The Danjuro Festival is set to come off this 24th February 2022 under the auspices of the Nabadazu II, Chief of Nakuri Traditional Council of the Upper East Region. Now, Danjuro is a symbolic occasion instituted to celebrate the victory of the Turingwe group of ancient Songhai Empire over the defeat of their enemies dating back to the 17th centuries, where their lives were secured by the Danjuro. Now, Nabadazu II, Chief of Kwikura, has been speaking to my colleague George Yosin Vene ahead of the festival.
An old festival now. I think it is even older than I believe some of the kingdoms that we have. Wow. The festival that other kingdoms have done, but you know ours were not documented. No. But somewhere around 17 years ago, I think we decided to involve the media to participate. No. And so this is just the documentation. So about 17 years now that we started documenting, but in the past it used to just be like sacrifice. Oh, okay. But today we want to use it to develop, you know, the B-Mobile and TV. Anytime I'm watching. Wow. So you watch? I'm interested. You watch Pan-African TV? I do. Thank you very much. I do. I appreciate that. I'm interested in the kind of policies about, you know, we the Africans and, you know, our past. Today people, we've gotten lost a bit. I want to believe that you know very well that those of us who find ourselves in Britain, in America, and other places, I think we've lost our values. We've lost our customs. But I know Pan-African TV is watched worldwide. And we believe that, yes, with this one, you are trying to actually, you know, reignite us to know that, oh, our past is not missing. So I believe that, yes, if I'm here, when you come and you cover, you get to know that, yes, Pan-Africa is one of the TV stations that the B-Mobile people would want to partner with. And I also believe that, yes, because of the philosophies of somebody like Sankara somebody like Dr. Nkrumah, somebody like Seketuri, and all of them who wanted Africa to come together. So that we create independence for ourselves. The same way, when we get in, maybe the chieftaincy institution, who knows? You can also help us to create independence. Why not? We can create independence for ourselves. Must it always be that parliament should sit down there and be killing each other? No.
That's how we draw curtains on this afternoon's Pan-African Television News here. With me, Ivy Abnadide Nakita. A big thanks to you for choosing to stay with us. Do join us on social media platforms, on Facebook at Pan-African Television, on Instagram at Pan-African Television, and on Twitter at Pan-African Television. My name is Ivy Abnadide Nakita. Have a lovely afternoon.